Mm-hmm.
And are you saying that it's complied, or?
I've had
Building
three
one next
different
door.
I've had 3 different building and safety inspectors review, plan check inspectors. Again, I'm not an engineer. I'm not gonna pretend that I'm an engineer. I'm an urban planner by trade. So I'm gonna allow the engineers to review it and do their calculations. 3 different sets of engineers, including the supervisor of the Valley office, have reviewed this, and they believe that it's in compliance. Now, if someone's
But that's because of the balcony versus the deck, right? Wasn't they were called, well, the RFA says balcony, but they said it was a roof deck. So they counted it in a different way, was how I understood it. Is that the case? Is that how they looked at it? Do you know?
I can check in with them to see how they calculated that. Again, I'm not gonna speak out of turn because I wasn't the one, and I'm not an engineer to be the one
Okay.
to make that call, but I've had 3 different plan checkers review that because I've raised this issue multiple times to them. And they believe that it's in compliance. Now, if someone chooses to, they could still appeal that regardless of the plan checker's decision, and a zoning administrator would then look at the data and make the determination.
The other thing is, in those areas where there's no sidewalks, isn't there, you have to pretend as if there was a sidewalk, and then your property
dedication.
line, the dedication, and then the property line, and so they're pushing stuff out, and then disclosing to buyers.
The one house where they were saying that he moved the property line. Moved the property line. That was Bruce that said that.
Yeah.
That they,
If I can have an address, I can look into it.
it's the Radford House. Because it's on the corner, so they just put it out to the corner and said, there's a dedication. Isn't it on the corner, the Radford, this house that we're talking about?
Setbacks are from the property line after dedication.
Well, but that's not what it is there. If the dedication I can't think of how much the dedication is, there's no sidewalk there.
It would only be 5 feet from that side yard,
Okay.
because because it's a side yard, not a front yard.
Isn't it 6 when it's 2-story?
No, it's 6 above 2 stories.
They also,
No, it's
they
6
also
months.
planted very tall trees which are illegal on the street.
Ah.
You'll see it tonight. It's all lit up, you can't miss it.
I'm one of those people that uses land use lots.
Wait.
I use it on Saturday mornings, because my daughter goes to swim school not too far from here.
Well, it's, all right, let's go to Barry next.
In Los Angeles, there is no enforcement of anything. Unless you murder someone, there's no enforcement. And to me, our RFA, and I was on the originating committee for it since 2005, it's like the biggest disappointment in the world to me, and I've gone through major depression over it because there's no enforcement. And until and unless there's enforcement on our RFA and the BMO to a lesser extent, I'm not going to be happy. And again, there's no enforcement in LA. I've yet to see the posting of the menu items or any posting on any site. It's also supposed to be on a website for us to, I would forego the posting on the site itself if we could look it up on a computer, but we can't even do that.
You guys can.
I am so happy that the people over the hill have finally gotten fed up like we did 10 years ago and are saying the BMO has to be redone, because that's what we need. Our RFA is going nowhere because there will never be enforcement. And to the gentleman that said that our RFA would supersede, that is not true. If the BMO changes and becomes more restrictive, that will supersede our RFA, whatever is more restrictive. And I just say, bring it on. I want more restrictive. I'm a victim. I'm in an 1,800 square foot house on a 6,750 square foot lot. Behind me was a 1,200 square foot home 10 years ago with a protected oak tree that is now almost, the oak tree was ripped out illegally, and I have a quadruple almost house there now that's like 4,500 square feet. So if anyone's the choir up at this table that you've been preaching to tonight, it's me. Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to take the mic, please.
I was around when Gary was working on
Closer.
I was around when Gary was working on these
Can't hear you.
Okay, I was saying that I was around when Gary was working on these documents, and he and Rita, morning, noon, and night, week after week, day after day. And one of the problems, I think, was that we were really cutting edge and we were ahead of the game. And so anything we asked for was too much to ask for, and that's why Barry is really disappointed. I'm really excited that there are people who are, ready to work with us to do this, because this is what you need. We need you to help us, the committee members, and we probably will go back into, hopefully, subcommittee to be able to do that. The other thing I wanted to point out to you, Carol, and ask, I remember Laura Chick did an assessment of how much enforcement was by Councilmatic District, and our district got the least amount of enforcement and lost the most amount of money in penalties for failure to seek building and safety enforcement and the penalties that went with it.
I think I have that whole thing in.
Laura Chick was a long time ago, but it was, and I always say, the city is quick to take your money and do stuff that you get paid for, and I just don't understand why everybody's laid down in this councilmatic district and just haven't gotten enforcement. Clearly that everybody wants. Everybody in here votes. Everybody wants this stuff, so you tell us who we have to shoot at building and safety to get this to happen. I mean, I know lots of people with Italian surnames who could do cement.
I'm sure you can auction off
We could do a reality series on this.
We could do a reality show.
If you could send me that audit, because again, Laura Chick was, I haven't worked at the city that long. Laura Chick was a lot longer
It
than,
was before Wendy, she did an audit on the DBS, and probably wasn't even 10 years ago. So,
It was shocking. It was really.
I'll have to figure out what year, but I think we could look it up.
I'll try to find it.
Okay, I mean, I know it's in
If
the
you have a
box.
copy, that'd be great.
Either at home or it's in the box here, so, okay, I will try.
Now, I'm in governmental affairs, I'm not with land use, but I see the frustration that Barry's stating. For me, and I'll talk completely on a macro level, I think our communities, and we have several of them that have such great charming character, we need to think of a way to maybe reinvent what we're doing here, because two things. I cannot believe people who might have owned a home for the last 20 or 30 years, and their whole nest egg is invested in this house, and then somehow an entity takes from that value and your quality of life. I cannot see how that must feel, and you have my total sympathy. What I'd like to see happen is maybe approach this from a mean standpoint, and let's look at the sizes of the homes and take some type of a mean measurement or view, and try to stay within those restrictions. Is it progress? Well, I don't know. I know a lot of areas that progress, and they still have incredibly charming areas and neighborhoods. So whatever someone wants to call progress, I think it has to do with having protected residents that can still embrace the community they live in, and they know that their leaders are going to defend them first and foremost. Thank you.
Okay, the first thing I'm going to say is that I'm going to agree with Joan. I've made numerous calls to building and safety about dust and dirt and a bulldozer and no hose going, and I watch it right out my window for days. It went on for days and days and days. I sent in, I think 6 times I reported it to building and safety. You do it on the computer, you got to fill in your name and address. They have 20 days to respond. By the time they ever responded, if they ever did respond, they were done bulldozing. The dirt was already gone.
AQMD will respond same day, and it's under their purview too.
Who will?
Air Quality Management District, and I can pull up the phone number while we,
Okay,
AQMD does come, AQMD has come out multiple times, I know, because I've,
No,
no,
I
I've
called
gotten,
them. It's
I've gotten a
only
letter
times
after
they
the fact saying that such and such property has been in violation.
okay, my second thing is
It's
that
because it's not.
they come in, they tear down a 12, 15, 1,800 square foot house, 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. They build a house that's 6 bedrooms and 6 bathrooms. They tell us we have no water. They tell us to save water, save 20%. But I should save 20% so they could give my water to some guy that's building a house that's gonna water the hell out of his lawn, that's got 6 bathrooms in the house.
Please just stay on the residential core area district.
Well, that it has all to do with it. If they're building a house with 6 bathrooms, it should be, you know, if they're gonna tear down a house with 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, and they wanna build a house that size, let's put a limit on the number of bathrooms. If they tear down 2 bathrooms, they can only replace it with 2 bathrooms. They can't put 6 bathrooms where there were 2. Or, right, and they put a luxury tax on the extra bathrooms. Dumpsters in the street, they used to require permits. I don't know, I got a ticket. I operate my business out of my house. I have a truck for my business. I was parked in front of my house for 20 minutes. I got a $168 ticket. These dumpsters sit in front of the house for weeks at a time. Where are the permits on them? No permits.
And the safety market. They have to be permitted.
No safety markings. They're out there in the middle of the street. They're dark. They take up parking. They drop wood.
They get a permit, they,
Don't forget they only have to be moved every inch or two.
3 days.
72 hours.
72 hours, it has to move a mile.
No.
They told me it has to move, because I used to have a truck that didn't move, and the policeman told me the truck had to move a mile, he was gonna check the odometer. So I couldn't just push it to the other side of the street.
so really quickly, 800 cut smog is AQMD's number. Say again, please?
Cut smog?
800 cut smog is the South Coast Air Quality Management District's phone number. So when you do have dust and debris, if it's leaving the site, it's not supposed to be at that point. Their purview is only air quality, so they do respond in a much more timely fashion.
If it comes into my yard, I guess it would say it was leaving the site.
Yes.
Okay,
And you
so
can
wait, we haven't
you can get permits for parking the dumpsters and other construction equipment on
They have to
the,
have a permit to have.
correct.
Right, and you don't, so that's where my point is that I got a ticket on my trucks for 3 hours, and I wasn't even there, I was there 30 minutes. And I pay a city business license at that address, at my house, I operate a business. And I was there coming from Oxnard on my way back to my warehouse to pick up the paperwork, I got that ticket, and these dumpsters sit there for months at a time.
Okay.
I'll yield back the rest of my time.
Are we asking questions of Carl, or are we also responding to the audience? Just for Carl, that's kind of what I thought. All right, then, the only real thing I've seen here is now that all of Studio City has its own neighborhood prosecutor. Before we were sharing, what's her name, Tamar. Is there anything the neighborhood prosecutor can do to help enforce or bring charges against RFA violations and baseline nationalization order? Especially since getting DES to do anything other than ignore us is problematic.
I don't believe so.
Well, it was worth asking if you
Yeah,
don't.
I don't know the answer to that. I don't think
He
so.
said all we did was criminal gang prosecution. That's what he
No.
No,
No,
No.
They're a quality of life prosecutions is what
Yes.
their role is to be.
I think that
We're speaking
the
to
DBS is basically its own entity,
Yeah.
and the
It would have to be
fines
referred by EBS.
to the prosecutor, and you know how that'll go. Good
It
question.
was worth checking out.
Yes. Anything else from you?
No, I've got
James.
responses to the
Okay.
public, but no.
James?
This may also help clarify maybe some questions as some of the things we're talking about tonight. But I would say that 9 out of 10, every developer is trying to scam something. I would say maybe 100%, but I know personally of one or two that don't, so I can't say 100%, but it's a given that they're gonna scam as much as they can until they get stopped, until somebody says something, no matter who that entity is. Which brings me to, there are two processes. There's a plan checker at the building department. Usually they're, as an architect, they're the ones that know the code, they're the ones that review it, they're the ones that hold you to your balconies and to your square footage. And then there's a separate person that comes out who is the inspector. The inspector comes out to make sure that, whether it be electrical, mechanical, structural, but they don't necessarily, nor have I ever seen them pull out a tape measure, unless it's a bathroom in a restaurant, to see whether or not something is what it says it is. In other words, the plan checker will say, okay, you're 500 square feet over, bring it back to me. I want it to be 500 square feet less. You don't meet the requirements.
Before the building starts.
Before the building starts. So they do that. The inspector that comes out to make sure that they're building per the plans, I think is where things go awry.
Yes.
Right, which brings me, and he may be doing his job, and he may not be doing this, and there may not be any type of, stuff going on, but he's not checking per se the square footages or the heights. I've never seen somebody pull out a laser or height or measure anything until somebody complained, like in Venice, somebody measured it and reported it. Which, I'll wrap it up first. Sorry. To make a long story short, it would be great if they had like a mandatory checklist, like the RFA would push to the top of the list. You have these 9, 10 items. These are the consistent things that developers are foregoing or working around. Check these things off, because they do have a checklist. Definitely the plan checker has a checklist. It's an extensive checklist, trust me.
But it doesn't, it's not the RFA. Yeah.
The inspector is just looking at the plans. You have 3 sinks, you have 5 electrical outlets, you have this structural beam, it's the right size, okay. So it would be nice if the inspector